Am I the idiot for not wanting my dad's new wife to speak at my mom's memorial? Throwaway, because my brother knows my main and I don't want him to see this yet. So I, male 29, lost my mom to pancreatic cancer about 13 months ago. It was brutal. She fought for like a year and a half, but anyone who's seen pancreatic cancer knows how that usually ends. My dad, male 65, seemed completely devastated at first. They'd been married for 35 years and were honestly one of those couples that still held hands and stuff. I genuinely thought he might follow her from grief. He looked that bad. Then, like barely 2 months after the funeral, he tells us he's met someone. I was shocked, but kept telling myself, everyone grieves differently or whatever. My siblings Emma, female 32, and Tyler, male 26, were just as blindsided. Dad said he was just getting coffee with this woman, Diane, female 44, who he apparently met at some community center thing he started going to. Fast forward, and 7 months after Mom died, they're married. 7 months. No engagement, no warning, just, we're getting married next weekend at the courthouse. I mean, I tried to be supportive, I really did. I kept telling everyone, I just want Dad to be happy, and I meant it at the time, but honestly now I can't stand being in the same room as them together. Diane has 2 kids from her previous marriage, Kayla, female 15, and Brandon, male 12. They seem super uncomfortable around all of us, which I totally get. This whole situation is weird as hell for everyone. My mom was this amazing elementary school art teacher who would spend hours making handmade gifts for our birthdays. When I turned 10, she made this treasure hunt with painted clues around our neighborhood that led to this bike she'd fixed up. She collected old teacups from estate sales. She had like 40 of them in a special cabinet my dad built her. Now they're all packed away in boxes in the garage. Because Diane redecorated, Mom also had this garden with native plants. She researched for butterflies and hummingbirds. Now there's a hot tub there. A hot tub. And I'm not against hot tubs or whatever, but did it have to go exactly where Mom's garden was? So anyway, my siblings and I have been planning this 1-year memorial for Mom at her favorite park. We're going to plant a tree she loved and share some memories. This park was really special to her. When I was 14 and our family dog died, she took us camping there to help us process it. About 3 weeks ago, we were all having dinner at Dad and Diane's. It still feels wrong to call it that instead of Dad and Mom's, when Diane just announces out of nowhere that she wants to give a speech at Mom's memorial. Later that night, I asked her what she was thinking of saying. She told me she just wants to help everyone move on since it's been almost a year. When I pointed out that the memorial is specifically to remember my mom, she said dwelling on the past isn't healthy and that my mom wouldn't want everyone stuck in grief forever. She even called my mom by her first name, which felt totally wrong. When I mentioned it hadn't even been a full year yet, she insisted she already feels like part of the family and that her speech could bring closure. Dad jumped in and said it would be nice for Diane to say a few words, giving me that look not to make a scene, so I dropped it. But over the next week, I started noticing more weird stuff. Like, I stopped by unexpectedly one afternoon to drop off some of Dad's tools I'd borrowed, and I overheard Diane on the phone laughing about how she had already donated some of Mom's clothes without telling anyone. She was saying the clothes weren't even nice, just teacher stuff, but that Dad acted like she threw away something super valuable when he found out. I think she was talking about Dad finding out, not us kids, because we definitely didn't know about this. Dad was just sitting there in his chair pretending not to hear or something. She's also started referring to herself as the lady of the house now, which makes me want to throw up. She's rearranged all the furniture and repainted 3 rooms that had stayed the same since Mom died. This is stupid probably, but Mom had this specific way she folded towels, like she'd fold them in thirds lengthwise, then in half twice. And seeing Diane fold them differently just hit me hard one day. I just had to go sit at my car for like 20 minutes. Mom taught me to fold laundry her way, and I still do it exactly like that. All 3 of us kids have tried talking to Dad about Diane. We've been pretty gentle, I think, but he just dismisses everything as us still processing our grief and says we need to give Diane a chance to bring some closure, which honestly feels crazy to me. Diane is going to bring OS closure about our mom. Last week after dinner and like 3 glasses of wine, Dad pulled me aside and said that Mom would want him to move on and be happy. And like, yeah, she probably would. Mom was generous like that, But that doesn't mean Diane should be taking over the memorial or getting rid of Mom's stuff or acting like she's been erased. Then, 2 days ago, I came by to drop off some photos we're using for the memorial, and I heard Diane on the phone in the kitchen. She didn't know I was there yet, and she was mocking Mom's obsession with that stupid park and saying the memorial was ridiculous, but that she planned to use her speech to establish some ground rules for the family going forward. I just left without letting them know I was there. I haven't told my siblings about this yet because Emma will go nuclear and Tyler will just shut down more than he already has. Am I overreacting here? Should I tell Dad what I heard? My mom hasn't even been gone for a full year, and it feels like Diane is trying to erase every trace of her and take over our family memorial to make it about herself somehow. Edit. For those asking about my mom's teacups, I don't know exactly which boxes they're in. Diane organized the garage, so everything's in unmarked plastic tubs now. I've been meaning to go through them, but honestly, it's been hard to find the energy. Thanks for all the fast responses. No. My dad hasn't been to therapy as far as I know. I suggested it early on, but he said he was handling it in his own way, which apparently meant remarrying as soon as possible. To everyone asking if Diane was around during Mom's illness, not that I know of. Dad claims they met after Mom died, but honestly, the timeline is suspicious. I don't want to accuse him of cheating without evidence, though. That would just make everything worse. Now for the first update. I honestly didn't expect so many responses to my last post. Thanks to everyone who commented and messaged me. You guys really helped me feel like I'm not completely losing my mind here. The memorial is tomorrow, and things have gotten so much worse since my last post. After I caught Diane on the phone mocking Mom's obsession with that stupid park and planning to use her speech to establish ground rules, I kind of snapped. Not like visibly snapped where anyone would notice, but I started secretly recording Diane when she doesn't know I'm around. I know that probably sounds really creepy and maybe illegal. Is it illegal? I honestly don't even know the laws about recording in my state, but I just needed proof from my dad. Dad won't listen to anything we say about her. It's like he's completely blind or something. I talked to Emma about it first, and she was just like, why don't we just tell Dad we don't want Diane to speak? Does she not understand what's happening here? We've tried telling him how we feel, and he just dismisses everything. Tyler's basically stopped talking altogether. He just stares at his phone whenever we're at Dad's house. Yesterday, I stopped by Dad's house to drop off some extra chairs for the memorial, and I caught Diane in Mom's office going through this memory box. Mom kept locks of hair from our first haircuts, and Diane was literally laughing about it, calling Mom pathetic for keeping dead hair. For so many years. I had my phone ready and recorded the whole thing. She had moved the box to the garage without telling anyone. I found all these other memory boxes stacked in a corner behind some old paint cans. Who does that? Then later I heard her talking to Kayla, her daughter, saying, Mom, wasn't that special? And that everyone acts like she was a saint just because she died. She actually said that to her 15-year-old daughter. Who talks like that? But the worst was when I was leaving and overheard her on the phone with someone, probably her sister, saying she planned to use her speech to explain how Charlotte's reign over this family is finally over. My mom's name was Charlotte. Hearing Diane say that made me literally have to sit in my car and just breathe for like 20 minutes before I could drive. I swear I'm not trying to cause trouble. This is my mom we're talking about. She's been gone less than a year, and it's like Diane is trying to erase every trace of her. I noticed all my old baseball trophies that Mom always displayed were boxed up in the garage, too. Guess what's on that shelf now? Diane's stupid yoga instructor certificates. I'm not even kidding. Last night, we had this super awkward family dinner before the memorial. Dad made this big announcement that tomorrow's memorial should bring closure to everyone, which felt like code for let Diane take over. Emma tried to suggest super politely that maybe Diane should keep her speech brief since, she didn't even know Mom. But Diane just went on about how her speech is necessary for healing or whatever. Tyler actually spoke up for once and asked what exactly she was planning to say, and she gave this super vague answer about family unity moving forward. I noticed her kids looking really uncomfortable the whole time, so I asked if they were even okay with attending. Before they could answer, Diane jumped in saying, "We're all family now, in this fake, sweet voice that made me want to throw up. Dad obviously picked up on the tension and changed the subject to talk about logistics for tomorrow. When he mentioned we'd be spreading some of Mom's ashes under the tree we're planting, I swear Diane actually smirked. Who smirks about someone's ashes? I'm not making this up. After dinner, I showed the recordings to Emma and Tyler. Emma started crying, and Tyler just stared at the wall. I suggested we show them to Dad, but Tyler was like, "What's the point? He won't believe us anyway." It hurt that he wasn't more supportive, but I guess he's dealing with this in his own way. I was looking for some notes Mom left about the park and found that Diane had already printed like 20 copies of her speech to hand out after the memorial tomorrow. Who does that? I didn't read it because I was too angry, but just the fact that she printed copies feels so wrong. Oh, and I found Mom's favorite cardigan sweater, the soft blue one she wore all the time during chemo, being used as a dusting rag in the laundry room. I took a picture but didn't tell anyone because I think Emma would actually murder someone if she knew. But I saved it and am bringing it to my apartment after the memorial. I called Aunt Meredith yesterday to confirm she was coming, and she told me Diane had actually called several family members suggesting they didn't need to attend the memorial since the immediate family is moving on. When I played her some of the recordings, she went totally silent. I could tell she was judging me for recording Diane, but what else was I supposed to do? So, I checked out the park pavilion where we're having the memorial. They have a sound system for music and speeches, and I tested connecting my phone to it. It works. I put together all the worst clips from my recordings into one audio file, but I honestly don't know if I'm going to use it. Part of me thinks I should just let her speak and then show the recordings to Dad privately later. But another part of me feels like everyone deserves to know who Diane really is. Dad texted me this morning saying, "Please make tomorrow special for everyone, including Diane." Including Diane. It's a memorial for Mom, not a welcome party for his new wife. It's like he's more worried about Diane's feelings than honoring Mom. The memorial is tomorrow morning, and I still don't know what I'm going to do. Would I be the asshole if I played the recordings during Diane's speech? Should I find another way to stop her from speaking? I feel like I'm going crazy here. Now for the second update. Wow, I don't even know where to start. It's been 2 weeks since the memorial and my whole family has basically exploded. I should probably start from the beginning. The memorial was on Saturday morning at Mom's favorite park. There were about 40 people, family, friends, some of Mom's teacher colleagues, even a few of her former students who are adults now. I wore this blue tie because it was Mom's favorite color. Dad seemed really weird and nervous the whole time, but not in the normal grief way. He kept checking on Diane instead of focusing on why we were actually there. Diane showed up in a bright red dress with all this jewelry, including a necklace that I recognized as one of Mom's favorites. I had to walk away when I saw that. Who wears red to a memorial service? And she had on huge dangly earrings and was talking super loud before things started. The first part of the service was actually really nice. Emma put together a photo display, and a bunch of Mom's friends shared stories. Her best friend from college read a poem Mom loved. Dad was crying during some of the tributes, which I think was him feeling guilty about remarrying so fast. So when it was time for Diane's speech, I had already connected my phone to the sound system. I honestly wasn't 100% sure I was going to do it until that exact moment. So here's what happened. Diane walks up to the podium with printed copies of her speech. I signal to the sound guy, my cousin's husband, to mute the mic. I stand up and tell everyone I have something that Charlotte would want everyone to hear. Then I hit play on my phone. The first clip was Diane talking to someone saying Mom was pathetic during cancer and cried all the time. There were gasps from everyone. Dad looked shocked. Diane screamed at me to turn it off and started coming towards me, but I kept playing it. Next clip was her laughing about getting rid of Mom's stuff and how she couldn't wait to redecorate the house. Then there was one where she told her daughter Kayla that her new step-siblings don't really matter, and this was about securing their future. Dad was just standing there frozen. Emma was crying. Tyler actually put his hand on my shoulder like he was supporting me, which was surprising because he's been so checked out. The last clip was the worst. Diane celebrating that she was finally getting Mom's jewelry collection and laughing about Mom not needing it anymore. Dad finally came over to stop the recording. I was shaking really bad. Diane was screaming that I took everything out of context and that I edited the recordings. Dad kept asking where the recordings came from, and I told him I'd been recording her whenever she said awful things about Mom. Diane stormed off with her kids following her, and Dad went after them after telling everyone to please give us a moment. I honestly thought I'd destroyed my relationship with my dad forever. But after they left, people started sharing real stories about Mom. Everyone was laughing and crying in a good way. I didn't hear from Dad for 3 days after the memorial. Then on Tuesday night, he showed up at my apartment. He looked like he hadn't slept in days. I thought he was going to yell at me, but instead he just collapsed on my couch. Turns out, he confronted Diane with the recordings and she admitted that she married him for money. Dad found out she has massive debt she hid from him. And she'd been taking Mom's valuable stuff, jewelry, antiques, even some of Mom's paintings, and selling them online. Dad filed for divorce the next day. He canceled all their joint accounts, changed the locks, and found out she'd been emotionally abusing her own kids too. She'd been telling them they had to make this marriage work or they'd end up homeless. Then things got even crazier. Diane's ex-husband found out what happened and filed for emergency custody of Kayla and Brandon. A week after the memorial, I got a text from Kayla asking if we could meet. I was super nervous, but agreed to meet them at a coffee shop. Kayla and Brandon actually thanked me. They said they've been really scared of their mom for years. Kayla said Diane had been bad-mouthing Mom even before she died, which means Dad definitely lied about when they met. Brandon told me Diane was pressuring them to call Dad Dad, even though they barely knew him. They're living with their actual dad full-time now. Brandon said he feels relieved, which was really sad to hear. Dad got a lawyer and is trying to get the marriage annulled based on fraud. Diane had to move in with her cousin in Oregon because Dad cut her off financially and she lost custody of her kids. I'm not going to pretend I feel bad for her. Some of our extended family thinks I went too far with the public shaming thing. My Aunt Carol keeps saying I could have handled it more privately, but we tried talking to Dad privately. He wouldn't listen. My relationship with Dad is complicated right now. We're talking, but it's strained. He admits he rushed into remarrying because he couldn't handle being alone after Mom died. He still hasn't been to therapy, which is frustrating, but at least he's not with Diane anymore. Last weekend, a small group of us went back to the park and planted a tree for Mom. Just family this time. It was quiet and respectful, the way it should have been the first time. I still feel weirdly guilty sometimes. Like, I'm glad Diane is gone, but I feel bad about how public it all was, especially for her kids. But then I remember her using Mom's cardigan as a dust rag, and I don't feel bad anymore. So yeah, that's what happened. Thanks, Reddit, for giving me the courage to stand up for Mom's memory. Sometimes I wonder if there was a less extreme option, but honestly, I'm not sure Dad would have believed anything less than hearing it with his own ears. Edit. To answer everyone's questions about the jewelry, Dad managed to track down some of the pieces Diane sold. He's working with a lawyer to try to get the rest back. The blue cardigan is safely at my apartment now. Yes, we're pretty sure Dad met Diane before Mom died. The timeline never added up, and what Kayla told me basically confirmed it. I'm not sure if they were having an affair or just friends, but either way, he definitely lied about when they met. For those asking if I regret what I did, honestly, no. The memorial got derailed for like 20 minutes, but then it became this genuine celebration of Mom's life. And Diane would have just kept erasing Mom if I hadn't done something drastic. The recordings were real. I didn't edit anything. A bunch of you are asking about legal stuff. The recordings were legal in my state, one-party consent. And no, Diane can't sue me for defamation because everything in the recordings was true. My cousin, who's a lawyer, checked. To answer the comments about whether Dad knew what Diane was really like, I honestly don't think he did. He was so deep in grief and denial that he just latched on to the first person who showed interest. He looked genuinely shocked when he heard the recordings. Yeah, he should have listened to us earlier, but grief makes people do weird things, I guess.